The bandwidth for this episode of Gun Guy Radio is sponsored by the Firearms Radio Network. FirearmsRadio.tv.
Welcome to episode 88 of Gun Guy Radio. This is a podcast that shines a positive light on the firearms lifestyle. I'm your host, Jake Challand, and this week we are talking with Mike Emmert from formerly of the God and Guns podcast, I guess. Hey, Mike.
Hi, Jake. How you doing, man?
And your new position of the Firearms Insider Director.
Yeah, so it's going to be an adventure. I'm looking forward to it.
And Nikki of Archangel Tactical. I'll just announce it right now. I'll jump right into it. The host of the Firearms Insider podcast.
Yes, very excited about that.
I was trying to think of your training company. It's Get a Grip. Is that it?
The company is Archangel Tactical, LLC, and I'm the founder of the Get a Grip Personal Defense and Firearms Training Program.
The training program is Get a Grip. Okay, mm-hmm. I need to get a grip because I can't get anything right. Well,
maybe you have to come for a little training, Jake.
I don't think you can provide the kind of training I need.
Good point.
That'd be a little hard to come by.
Brownells helps make this episode of Gun Guy Radio possible. Selection, service, satisfaction. Find it all at Brownells. Go to gunguyradio.com/satisfaction. Well, so this week, another roundtable edition of Gun Guy Radio. We do this every 4 weeks or so for any new listeners out there. Normally, I interview industry insiders, but every 4 weeks we get together with the Gun Guy Radio, Firearms Radio crew, and we usually do a bit of listener feedback and some other topics. But this week we're talking about the upcoming Firearms Insider monolith of a website. It's going to have blogs, multiple podcasts, multiple gun and gear review content. So very excited to get that going October 15th. A few announcements first. And I briefly mentioned this last week, but we have two new podcasts on the network, the Precision Rifle Podcast and the Competitive Rifle Podcast. And these are both on iTunes now. I can't remember if they were last week at this point. But great shows. Mike, have you had time to check either of those out?
You know, I listened to the first pilot episode of Precision Rifle Podcast a long time ago. And other than, I think that was probably over a month ago, I think. Isn't that when that came out?
It was like, I think it was like 2 months ago, because there was a delay between them putting out the pilot and getting the next episodes going. But they're going now, and episode 4 will release probably tonight, Thursday night, the October 3rd. And both of these shows will come out every Thursday. I believe the Competitive Rifle Podcast comes out Thursdays at noon, which one just came out today. And the Precision Rifle Podcast comes out Thursdays at 4 a.m. So for those of you that don't know, our release schedule kind of runs on a 4 a.m., 12 noon cycle, depending on what show it is, what day it is. Mike, the God and Guns Podcast, remind me, that comes out Friday at noon, correct?
Yeah, Friday at noon.
Because we just moved that. It used to come out earlier in the week. And it was
kind of sporadic. It would kind of come out whenever.
Well, yeah, and we moved several shows around so that we can be more consistent. And yeah. Nikki, your podcast will come out Saturdays at 4 a.m. or noon. I don't remember what I told you.
I think you threw out an either or, so I guess we'll flip a coin. I don't know. If it requires me to be awake at the time that it goes live, let's go for noon.
Yeah.
Yes, you have to wake up at 4 a.m. and plow the podcast fields and get that out.
Oh, yeah, well, maybe I might need to delegate. Mike, are you available at 4 a.m. on Saturdays?
I'm going to have to, I'll have to give this one to Anthony.
Sounds good. That's what you get for not being here, Anthony.
Well, don't throw him too much under the bus. I didn't invite him, so.
Oh, well, maybe he's with us in spirit.
Well, actually, next week, I think I may be doing another roundtable Gun Guy Radio with some of the other personalities that are going to be on the Firearms Insider. But for this week, Mike, you're taking over the whole program at the Firearms Insider. So top to bottom, the buck stops with you.
Yeah. Yeah. So then that's a weird way to put it, because I think the buck stops with you, right? In reality. Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to it. It was a big decision on my part because, Jake, when I first kind of was getting started in the Firearms Radio Network, it wasn't even a network yet. It was just, Gun Guy Radio, and I was kind of on that every now and then, and it started growing and getting bigger and bigger, and I was making more of a presence, on that show. And then you threw out the idea that, why don't you do your own show? I was like, well, yeah, you got to be kidding me. So kind of eventually things evolved into the God and Guns podcast, and my co-host at the time, Zach, we started the show, and it did really well, and is still doing well. We're 33 episodes in now, so it made it a little over a year while I was on it. And so now our new co-host, Troy, he actually came on board with us to be a third personality on the show. And so the timing it couldn't have worked out any better. God, I think, was really working in that. And, Jake, you put the call out there for those interested in, getting involved, who wanted to be involved with the Firearms Insider. And, I said, let me think about it for a little bit, and I'll get back to you. And so that's kind of where I'm at now. Troy's going to take over for me. Zach is taking a step back from the show, too. So it's going to be an adventure. I know it's going to be the kind of thing where, don't expect, when this thing launches on the 15th, don't expect this to be just absolutely glitch free. We're going to learn as we go. And, Jake, I mean, I know you're like slaving away, that's like, this is, another one of your babies. So you're putting a lot of work into this. And I really want the listeners to understand that, this is blood, sweat, and tears that you're putting into this. And, it's going to require a lot of feedback too, I think. So when someone comes to the site and they think, it would be really good, I think it would be great to hear feedback. Because, like any good entity, I think it's going to have its glitches, like I said, and it's going to have, areas that are going to need input for growth, I think. So
yes, let's bring everyone's expectations down to the ground floor. So if anything, we seem to over-deliver.
No, as far as expectations go, I mean, I'm really expecting this thing to take off really fast, personally. And, I think we've got a really solid, loyal listener base, with the Firearms Radio Network. And so I think that's going to really help, propel it. So as far as expectations go, no, I think our expectations are high, and I think we're going to be able to meet those.
Mike, do you remember the first episode you were on this show?
No, and I hope you don't play a clip from it.
I don't know, if you go over to my personal YouTube page, there might be video of one of our first shows back when we were in my basement.
No, No, there's not.
It might not be public. Maybe I'll make it public.
Yeah.
No, you really, the first, I don't know, it was in the first dozen shows, I think. You really saved me.
No, you know what? I remember. I don't remember what we were talking about, but I do remember you said, why don't you come over to the studio, which was in your basement at the time. So I was like, all right, we'll come over. And then you said, we're going to be airing this live. So I was so nervous. And you can probably tell from the video, because I remember going back and watching it. And my heart was just beating. We probably only had like one person watching us, but.
Your mom.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Your Nana.
So I was so nervous because it was live and people could actually watch us, like, kind of the way it's set up for this current show we're doing right now. But I was just so nervous, and I just felt like I was fumbling over all my words and didn't know what I was talking about. Well, I didn't know what I was talking about, but I guess I'm a little bit more comfortable behind the mic now than I was then.
Yes, you're a complete professional when not knowing what you're talking about now.
Right, I can hide it better.
So Nikki, let's introduce you a little more to the listeners. They may have caught you on Gun Girl Radio, which was a fantastic interview that Julie did this last week or two. I guess it was 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. Mm-hmm.
And we had you on This Week in Guns last week. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
And
this is my third consecutive week.
Awesome. Well, why don't you tell people a little bit about your background, how you got to the point of having a traveling training company of your own?
Well, a few years ago, I decided to learn to shoot defensively. I went through a divorce, moved to a new part of town, and was living alone and traveling a lot for my job in corporate America. And I managed the entire state of Georgia and central Alabama and did a lot of driving with my job. And with the rising amount of crime and the amount of forcible rapes against, with women doubling that particular year, I thought, I probably should find a viable way to protect myself if something were to happen. So I went to a local gun range, did some basic instruction with a basic handgun instructor, and was in the range doing a little practicing and decided, well, I'm kind of ready to ramp this up a little bit. And I was very blessed to meet a great friend and colleague who's a former captain of Force Recon, 5 combat tours, and I realized there was a significant difference in the way that he was shooting versus the way that I was shooting. And I asked him if he taught people how to shoot, and he said, "What are you trying to learn?" And I said, "Well, I really just want to be prepared to protect myself." And he said, "Well, there's a big difference between target shooting at silhouette targets and learning how to protect yourself. So what you really want to learn is how to gunfight." And I thought, yeah, sign me up for that. When can we get started? So yeah, it kind of began this journey, the educational part of it, the mindset, and just the knowledge base of all of the different intricate aspects of personal defense, everything from using firearms as a viable method to other hand-to-hand and improvised weapons options and things. So I learned a lot very quickly, and being on the East Coast, I was very blessed to have access to some of the best in this industry. Mr. Claude Werner, Mr. Bill Rogers, and some others who really kind of taken me under their wing and taught me a lot. And they've been doing this for a very long time and have a tremendous wealth of knowledge. And I am very, very thankful to have met them and been afforded the opportunity to learn a lot very quickly. But I realized throughout this process that they were all men. There were no women, there were no Nikki Turpos out there taking a sophisticated skill set and translating it in a way that everyday average folks could understand. So I really felt a calling to be able to translate those skill sets to everyday people in a way that's more palatable and understandable for them to be able to listen, learn, and have the physical application of skill to protect themselves or their families.
Very cool. Yeah, it's neat that you so early on got to hook up with some world renowned trainers, really, and and so what's your like week or months like now? I mean, how much do you travel? What?
Well, I about a year and a half ago, I had a really important decision to make because I had a very successful career in corporate America and a really nice paycheck every 2 weeks. And I started kind of doing this on the side on nights and weekends. And pretty soon my work week turned into a full 7 days, and I had no days off. So I had a decision to make whether I wanted to stay in the comfort of corporate America or if I really wanted to take a leap of faith and pursue what I felt was a calling. And so I said goodbye to my corporate America life and jumped in wholeheartedly and pursued this full time. So we're a mobile training company, and we travel literally coast to coast. We were in 15 states last year, over almost 11,000 air miles and about 14,000 driving miles across the country to train. And for me now, an average week or month, I bounce around a lot. I get to see a lot of great places and meet a lot of really interesting people from all different walks of life. So I train in my local area in and around in Atlanta at least one weekend out of every month. I'm in Texas a lot and just do a lot of training and different places. So wherever duty calls, I literally have guns and do travel. So luckily there's modern technology with mobile hotspots and laptops and iPhones that makes my job and all of the other things that I do work. I'm also a contributor to the Beretta blog and do some other projects that help to support the community that I serve and bring them some really solid knowledge. So I'm able to make it work with good time management and a will to succeed and help people. So, and the grace of God is also a great help.
So I'm curious, what's your rig, your truck, and I assume it's a truck. What's your rig like that you drive all over?
Well,
it has to haul quite a bit of
yeah, well, being a small business owner and having my growth plan, a lot of reinvestment goes into my business and the growth of it. So currently my daily rig is what I call my tactical Volvo S60. You'd be amazed at how much I can pack into that little car. But usually I have a really, really phenomenal long-standing relationship with my local enterprise. So they usually have either a conversion van or a full-size SUV or a mid-size SUV for me set aside. And I think I've racked up so many points with them that now I basically get my rentals for free. And sometimes I give the guys, a complimentary day at the range for some shooting lessons. So they always hook me up. So shout out to my guys at Enterprise. So yeah, hopefully 2014, I'll be investing in a really nice new ride for the company. So God willing, we'll be going that way.
Is that the kind of thing where you would, I guess, steer clear of too much advertising on the company vehicle? I just wonder, what would the, I guess, concern be with theft?
Yeah, and I've thought about that. Of course, I have a lot of great affiliates in the industry, a lot of people who really believe in what I'm doing and who are great supporters of me. And I've thought, and some of them have even mentioned, hey, what if we sponsored like a vehicle with a wrap around it for some advertisement and stuff. And, being a female, of course, I'm more than capable of protecting myself, but it's one of those things like open carry. Do you really want to advertise, what you're doing? Do you really want that type of advertisement rolling around on wheels? So I think there's pros and cons to it. I've kind of thought through that a few times, but, it's just, it's a judgment call. But I guess, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But I can definitely see that some people might be a tiny bit curious with all of the gun-related advertisement on the outside of it. And you might get some anti-gun folks responding to that type of a vehicle as PETA does to people wearing fur coats, and can create a little extra drama that I'm really not interested in participating in. So you just never know. So you got to think it all the way through.
Well, now your logo really for Archangel doesn't have any guns on it, does it?
Nope, it's basically wings and a sword with the company name, but with Archangel Tactical,
get those
I think
anti-sword people.
right, those sword haters.
Hey, it could be like wings with a spoon.
Oh, the tactical spoon.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I bet you like that idea.
No, it's the assault spoon. That's what it is.
Tactical. No, that's why I'm changing the Fat to Fit podcast name to.
Are you?
No, not at all. So let's dive into a little bit more about the Firearms Insider. So the launch. I'm going to go with a theme for the launch. You know, Nikki, you and I had talked about this briefly, but I think maybe reaching the next generation would be a good launch theme as an overall focus for maybe the first podcast episode and maybe first couple blog posts. What do you guys think?
It's great. I have a phenomenal 9-year-old who's really great at shooting, and his family loves guns. Maybe we can talk to him about being a guest.
Awesome.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can go a few different ways with that too. I mean, talking about reaching the next generation, you know, a big thing now is, you know, getting kids into shooting, you know, teaching your children safety, gun safety. And, you know, when it comes time for them to pick out, you know, their first gun or start researching that, you know, this would be an excellent site for them to start with because, I mean, it's kind of one of a kind, and you know we're going to be able to, you know, provide that for those who are looking for a gun to shoot, something that would fit them, fit their needs, that would fit their family's needs, things like that. So, you know, I think it would be a perfect way to start.
Well, and we're working with Carol from the Fat to Fit podcast with Carol Gets a Gun Project, and you know she'll be a first-time gun owner in the next few months, and she's also bringing her kids along on the journey with her. You know, and we're gonna get them started with safety, the fundamentals, and actually Nikki's going to have a part in that too. So, but that's going to be released later on after the launch. But you're right, Mike. There will be eventually plenty of resources on the site for that type of material. Yeah,
and not just you know, to kind of put another spin on the word generation. It doesn't have to be limited to, you know, age, you know, you're the age, the new up-and-comers. It can be geared towards the next generation of shooters specifically. So it doesn't matter what your age is. You know, if you're just now, you know, if you're 60 or, you know, if you're 40 and you're just now getting into firearms, you know, you could be, I guess, lumped into that new up-and-coming generation, irrespective of age. You know what I mean?
I guess. Is a 60-year-old the next generation?
Well, next. Well,
no,
you know what I
I
mean.
get what you're saying. but yeah, I mean, I'm going to write a blog post about this sometime. But you know, part of reaching the next generation is reaching the current generation, because you know who has the greatest influence over the kids nowadays? It's their parents. You know, because their parents take care of them, you know, decide what activities they're doing. So why not, you know, create ways to target, you know, the 35 to 55-year-olds that currently have young kids and get them involved more in, you know, the shooting sports or personal defense type mindset. And then they'll just naturally, you know, bring the next generation along with them.
Well, see, you know, I don't know if I completely agree with the parents being their number one influence in a child's life. Obviously, in some cases, yes, but in some cases, no, because it's becoming a big thing where parents are becoming less involved in their child's lives, and they don't take part in what their kids are doing in school, and they just are kind of, they're not as involved as they used to be in their kids' lives. And I think that one area that can be focused on is teaching the new up-and-coming generation how to be the role models to their peers. Because, they're going to be going to friends' houses that are anti-gunners, and they're going to be going to, their peers' houses with that role model mindset. So they, they'll be able to teach their peers, because the parents aren't always going to be in that position, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to take a multi-prong approach. There's not just one solution.
Right.
So, moving on. So, we also want to, maybe think about, ask ourselves questions like, 20 years from now, how can we ensure that there are more gun owners than there are today, that there are more shooting sports programs, more, FFLs, gun stores, more shooting stuff available in more of the mainstream stores like Walmarts and Targets?
Well, I guess what has been proven in the past is try to pass gun control. That seems to do the trick. You get an influx of shooters and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. I think we need a little more incorporation of fun and creativity with regards to the training aspect and everything. Of course, I see people all the time who want to come to learn to protect themselves, and it can become very serious subject matter because you have to acknowledge your responsibility involved and the potential that you might have to take a life. So, depending upon what we're training for, it can become very, very heavy subject matter, but taking those skills, the physical application of skill and making it more fun and more creative and creating an environment where friends can come together, boyfriends and girlfriends can come, or families can come. I think implementing a little more creativity with that, drawing people into the ranges and into the shooting sports and giving them the opportunity to feel comfortable enough to compete in IDPA or any of these other things where they can actually practice their skills and enjoy it at the same time. Because I think sometimes people feel like they're not good enough or they wouldn't be welcomed into that community, or they just don't know how to get involved. So continuing the educational process and really putting forth the representation that this is fun and welcoming and getting more people, more women, more families to participate, I think could really, really help spark more interest and more long-term interest. If it was something that they really enjoyed, they would keep coming back for more of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we constantly have to start looking at things from a new perspective. I think for so long the industry has looked at many of the problems from a single perspective.
Yeah.
But so let's move on. We're already running a little bit behind on this show. But one of the
I was being facetious about the gun control, just so you know.
Mike is no longer part of the Firearms Radio Network.
Hey, thanks, Mike. It was nice knowing you. Have fun in Congress.
Yeah. Oh, man. Sorry, I just... my humor gets a little dry sometimes, so there's probably the listeners out there that don't quite get the dry humor, so...
Yeah, my mouth is...
No, Nikki, you nailed it on the head. We have to be creative in making this industry pleasant, so...
Yeah.
Well,
okay, sorry to slow us down again, Jake.
No. Feel free. So I'm excited to announce, I haven't announced this to the public yet, but we've been talking about the Firearms Insider podcast, but we're actually having two podcasts. Yes, we're having the Firearms Insider podcast hosted by Nikki Trapeau, and we're also having the Firearms Insider Gun and Gear Review podcast. So before we had talked about how the the Firearms Insider podcast was going to incorporate gun and gear reviews and talk and everything, and we were also going to incorporate a firearms like in the industry review type or interview type show, but I think that was just too much for one podcast. So we're launching 2, and I'm excited, Nikki. What we talked a little bit about what you have in mind for the Firearms Insider podcast. And why don't you tell us a little bit about what you have planned?
Well, I think kind of in the spirit of what I said before, and implementing some creativity and just making it more approachable and more personable for people. Lots of different types of people, not just the people who feel that they already have a grasp on a great knowledge or solid foundation of firearms and all of that, who really kind of are established in how they feel about certain things and have achieved a certain level of comfort, but really appealing to everyone, even some people who may not necessarily be pro-gun, but may just be curious or undecided. Want to create an environment where we focus really more on kind of the behind-the-scenes stuff, a peek behind the curtain, so to speak, with regards to the people involved in this industry and the individuals involved. So really looking at the profiles of people who have a passion for what they do, whether that's creating tactical clothing, holsters, guns, gun parts, sights, night vision, whatever it is that they're focused on, whatever aspect of this industry, but taking a look at who they are. What are the drivers? What are the things that they're passionate about? And how do they, find themselves with regards to where their heart is in this industry and why they're committed to it and why they're proud to be, an appreciator of the Second Amendment and a lover of firearms and guns and the gun culture, so that people have an opportunity to see a little bit more about who these people are, not so much what they do or what they sell as a product promotion, but who are they? And there's a lot of people, wonderful people, that I've had an opportunity to meet and work with in this industry that are very behind the scenes people. And when the media contacts a company in the industry, they're usually talking with the president and CEO or the marketing director or whomever the marketing director designates to speak on behalf of the company. Very rarely do you get to talk to the super cool people that are a part of making those guns, what they are, or making those products what they are. So I think that that's one important aspect. And then also looking at some testimonials from people from different walks of life who may be new in the gun community, and what are the things that drew them to it? What are the things that are exciting that they find about it, and kind of how being involved with firearms and learning more about the culture has impacted their life and their families' lives. So also looking at some of our political representatives and news correspondents, and having some of their insight as well to the things that they're experiencing with regards to gun debates and the defense of our Second Amendment. But then again, the people aspect of it, who they are, what they enjoy, and just kind of a get to know you with people that you normally wouldn't have access to hearing from. So that was kind of my heart for this, and I'm a lover of people. I really have a heart for people, and that's what drew me into having a total life and career change, and really wanting to commit myself to this. So I think training's one aspect, but also having an appreciation for others and opening up an opportunity for people to realize that this industry, the firearms industry, we're all people. We're all individuals, and we all have a story. We all have a passion. We all have fears. We all have, expectations of what should be going on in our country, but we all have a common ground, and that's the desire to want to be able to shoot our guns and enjoy them and learn how to protect ourselves, and just giving people an opportunity to experience some of that on a different level, I think will be a more creative and unique approach to the podcast.
Yeah, I love how you're going to focus on the people aspect and the stories, the different stories that companies, all have a background, and people inside those companies all have a background. And a lot of them are just very interesting. Some are just, will blow your mind. So I can't wait. Really
yeah,
excited.
I'm very, very excited. I've been brainstorming my list of interviewees, so I'm really thrilled, and I keep getting little ideas. I'm like, oh, that would be a great one. So just everyone who's listening, don't, your phone might ring.
So Yeah, and the Gun and Gear Firearms Insider podcast is going to be hosted by Devin, a gentleman from and listener fan from Pennsylvania. So we'll be showcasing more about him in the near future. And also, it's about community. If you look at Mike's text under his mug there, it says Firearms Insider Community. So, I mean, that's really what mug? I didn't say ugly.
This? Oh, my mug shot. I get it.
Mike, I appreciate how much you keep the flow of the show. It's just like nice and even. Great job.
Hey, Mike, I just realized that if I hover my mouse over your face, there's an ignore you button. I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yeah, that's cool. I think a lot of people have used it.
Have they?
Now, someone 9 months from now is watching it on YouTube, and they're like, why doesn't the ignore button show up for me?
Right. Go back to the end of the line. You're not ready yet.
I'm sorry I look a little bit scruffy tonight. I'm starting to grow my beard back out now that I don't have to shave for my mine rescue apparatus.
Okay, we'll talk about your apparatus on a later show. So,
that's a whole different podcast.
Yeah, that's totally different. What were we talking about?
I have no clue. So the community aspect of it. So, for example, the blog is going to feature different personalities from the Firearms Radio Network and the industry itself. But there's going to be another tab that is called Community, and that's essentially a community blog. Now we're going to curate it so that there's not like crazy YouTube comments on there, but that'll give a voice for the common gun enthusiast, you, the listener, or anyone. So you can share tips and tricks you might have learned over the years. You can share maybe a how-to or just an opinion piece, maybe an opinion piece about current events. As long as it's clean content and it's not like Unabomber type stuff, we'll put it up there because it's the community, and then the community can comment on it and respond to you, and then you can respond to them. So we'll have these comment threads about these different ideas and different information, different, it's all about helping each other, serving each other with good content, good information, and encouraging one another as well. That's going to kind of expand into all aspects of the Firearms Insider. The community will also have a voice in the reviews. So the Gun and Gear reviews, whether we put a review up that's like a blog post style review, which is what you mostly see, or like a YouTube style, or an audio style, everything's going to have a format outline that will be followed, and it will have a rating. So you can give it a 0 to 10 rating. Like if you're watching right now, you can see I gave myself a rating of 1.0 unbearable right here. But you'll be able to give
Some would argue with that.
Well, you can't go much lower. You can do a 0.5, which I don't remember what a 0.5 is. It's got to be worse than unbearable, though.
We need to work on your podcast self-esteem, Jake.
Well, I put I think I started out before you guys came in the Hangout. I put a 8.0 on there, but I'm like, no, I'm not that good.
You're just being humble.
I'm just being, yeah. Well, I get plenty of 1-star reviews on iTunes, so.
You personally?
Yeah, some of them call me out.
Yeah, they do. Everybody gets called out on there.
So anyways, the reviews, they'll all have a place on the bottom of them where you can leave your own review. Any of you listening, watching, you can leave your own review and also leave a 10-point scale score. And then it'll have a summary of what, if 100 people left a review, it'll give you an average. And so it's not just our opinion, creating these reviews and putting them out there, but you also have a say in it. And you can also put comments on your reviews saying, Mike has no idea what he's talking about on this high point. So I'm excited about that. And also, the Gun and Gear Review podcast feed will also have the ability to have listener reviews. We'll give you an outline to follow, and you can record a review, and we'll edit it, post it, and it'll show up in that Firearms Insider Gun and Gear Review feed. So everyone can also participate on the podcast side of things. And then we're doing the same thing on the YouTube side of things, where you can do a listener, submitted review of your own, and it'll all be tied back to the site. And I don't know, I'm pretty excited about it. We'll have more information, as we approach the 15th. But once it's live, you can go there and look around and see what looks like might be fun, for you to do. I mean, maybe you've been wanting to do a blog post of your own, but you don't want to, go to the length of creating your own blog. But maybe, once in a while you'd like to type something up, and we're going to give you a forum for that.
So you said when someone from the community submits a review, we're going to edit it.
Yes.
So you have to. Don't think you can just come in and say anything you want, because we're just going to take it out.
Not editing what you say. We're editing.
We'll find you.
I was going to say when Hank submits a review, his are probably going to be like, "Hey, here's my Tavor." The end. My imaginary Tavor.
Next time you and Hank are sending text messages, leave me out, because you kept me up all night the other night. Talking about a Tavor. No, we're edit it for time. We'll put a front bumper and a back bumper on it and put it up. We're not going to edit any of your content, but
right.
We have to condition the file to upload it. Unless you're crazy, then we just won't post it. Crazies do not apply.
Manage your crazy somewhere else. Thanks. This public service announcement brought to you by Firearms Insider.
Well, we have some listener feedback to get to. Do Mike, Nikki, do you have any final thoughts on the Insider?
Final thoughts.
No. Okay, so let's get into the feedback.
Ballroom jeans, fire hose work pants, and long-tail tees are three favorites among the men of Gun Guy Radio. Duluth Trading Company has perfected the art of clothing the manly man. If you want manly comfort that's trusted by these gun guys, go to gunguyradio.com/Duluth and check out the other manly essentials Duluth Trading Company offers gun guys like us.
Welcome back to the product spotlight here on Gun Guy Radio, and we have Paul Levy, our correspondent from Brownells, on the line with us. Hey, Paul.
Hey, how's it going?
Going good. We're making this a regular thing now.
Yeah, fine by me.
Well, glad to have you back, and we have the Lewis lead remover.
Yep.
What can you tell me about this? It looks like it's brass patches that you can pull through your barrel.
Yep. I wanted to bring on just a classic item that Brownells has carried for decades now. It was actually introduced in 1954, and it still works. You don't fix these sort of things. Brownells actually bought this design, and we're selling it now under the Brownells name. We've been doing that since 2003, and it always sells well. But you know what? I just don't think most people are aware of it. And what it is, it's designed for pistol barrels. We do sell attachments, so you can use it on rifles. but it's designed to de-lead barrels mechanically. You don't have to use solvents, although we do recommend using it with our JB bore compound. All it is you have this brass screen, which that can't focus on, and it goes in front of this grommet here, this rubber grommet. And when you attach it like this, pull it through your barrel, that screen goes tight against the lands and grooves and just de-leads. All the lead basically gets pulled out by this screen. It's just a physical, it's just the brass against the lead. It drags through and pulls it all out. So really a pretty handy tool. Also works great for just cleaning out the cylinders on your revolver. Of course, works on semi-auto barrels or revolvers. That's where it originated, was for revolvers, but it works on both. This attachment here is for cleaning the barrel. Has a rubber piece behind it, which allows it to fit snug into the barrel. And it's going to take some force because you're pulling lead out of the barrel, but it works really well. There's nothing really that compares to it on the market as far as de-leading a barrel.
Well, that's a screen looks pretty big. Is that about an inch across, or?
Yeah, it's about an inch. And this version here, this model I picked out is for a 45. We have it from everything from 32 up to 45. So basically, any pistol caliber you're going to be shooting, we have a kit for.
So the screen is going to be a little bit over twice the width of the bore, then, that you're
correct. Yep.
Okay.
And it's just a brass screen that gets pulled through. It's not going to damage stainless steel or standard barrels. It's just rubber and brass against your bore, which is not going to do anything.
Right, and I believe that's because brass is a softer metal than the
much softer. Yep. And also, it's not just that rubber piece for cleaning the bore. There's also an attachment that comes with this kit here.
So that rubber piece actually makes contact with the bore as well?
Yeah, this rubber piece just holds the brass tight against the interior of the barrel, of the bore.
So the brass kind of folds back over that rubber piece.
When you pull it through the barrel, it'll fold back like this, and it'll go tight against that rubber piece like that. Okay. And that'll draw all the lead out. And like I said, that's not the only attachment it comes with. It also comes with a attachment to clean your forcing cone on your revolver. So this attachment here, put the screen over it, put this right into your forcing cone, slide this down the barrel, attach this, and then all you have to do is rotate this just gently against your forcing cone, and that'll de-lead your forcing cone on your revolver. So really, really pretty handy. You could clean your entire revolver's bore with this tool and some JB bore compound.
So it looks like the kits range anywhere from about $30 to $35.
Yeah, really pretty attractive in price, and everything from 32 to 45. We sell all the replacement parts individually. So say you've already got this kit. You could just buy the attachments for the different calibers, whatever you need. If you need replacement screens, because if you go through all the 10 or so that it comes with, you can buy the replacement parts. So really a handy kit. Been around since 1954, and it still works great.
Well, very cool. That does look like a handy kit to have around. Make a great Christmas present for a revolver owner.
Oh, yeah. My dad owns one.
Well, thank you so much, Paul. And everyone can go to gunguyradio.com/spotlight to find a direct link to the Lewis lead remover kits. Well, we'll see you next time, Paul. Thank you.
All right. See you then.
How's a free gift card to Brownells sound? Pretty wicked awesome, right? Go to gunguyradio.com/winner and sign up for our email newsletter to enter for a chance to win. There's a winner every week, but you only have to enter once. Thanks, Brownells.
And it's time to draw the Brownells weekly giveaway gift card winner. So the winner this week is Chauncey Ching. Hope I said your name right, Chauncey. Sorry. So you won $20 in Brownells gift card. So congrats. And to get entered to win these awesome gift cards, you can go to gunguyradio.com/winner or simply look on the right-hand column of gunguyradio.com for the place that says subscribe to our email newsletter. And you only have to subscribe once, and you're entered for life. So Eric, he writes on, he says, this might be appropriate since we have Mike from the God and Guns podcast on. He says, Jake, I just want to verbalize my enjoyment of your podcast, in addition to almost all the shows on the Firearms Network. I'm a liberal atheist gun owner from California, and I own, and my own views on gun, with my own views on gun ownership. Sorry. I own a LWR6M6 and a Walther PPQ. I was brought into the world of firearms at age 13 and enjoying it immensely. However, that enjoyment subsided to other interests like girls. Then in high school, my friends and I would go out to the desert and shoot and ride off road motorcycles and sand rails. What's sand rails?
Don't know.
It was
sure.
It was then when I first began shopping for a gun, but never followed through. Then it wasn't until my late 30s that I discovered a good friend who was very into firearms of all sorts. That was it. After going to the range so frequently, I had to go get my own gun. I generally disagree with all the rhetoric thrown around by politicians and feel this country is headed in the wrong direction fast. It would seem that no matter your opinion of the Second Amendment, it is currently a right being taken away bit by bit. I do my best in my busy schedule to write the powers that be, at least to let them know this constituent's opinion. I'm consistently trying to bring new people into our world, but living in Los Angeles, it can be difficult. I do not hunt, but rather treat guns as a sporting and bonding opportunity with friends, in addition to self-defense if ever needed. Keep up the good work, and if I could give any advice, it would be to keep your podcast on point. Occasionally, they veer off into personal matters. Although I do feel like I know you, and it generally pulls me out of the moment. Also, I mentioned I'm an atheist. I completely respect any and all religions, but find the very occasional religious references not offensive, but rather unnecessary. Some believe that their God and guns go together like peas and carrots. However, this country was founded on the beliefs of religious freedom, and being a public podcast about guns and already opinionated subject, you should probably keep it to one opinionated topic per podcast, but that's just my opinion. Again, keep up the good work.
Yeah, I mean, Eric, that was a very lengthy email, and I thank you for taking the time to write in and send that to us, and thank you for listening to the show. I actually get that a lot. People, and I do thank you for saying that you're not offended, although you find it unnecessary to bring religion into the shows. I really appreciate you saying that, because we do get some feedback saying that they just disagree with us completely. Not that much. I think 1 or 2 reviews on iTunes is what we've gotten.
Mike, I got to agree, Chuck Norris is not the greatest thing since sliced bread. I mean, lay off the Chuck Norris facts.
You'll have to talk to Troy about that. He's taken over for me, so I default to him. So, yeah, and one of the things I've heard, too, is that people don't think that God and guns should be put together like peas in a pod, and you're right. Some people do treat religion and guns as kind of this this co-equal meshing of their interests, and I started that God and Guns podcast because they're 2 interests of mine. Obviously, God is because he's my everything, but guns is just a part of my life. The same could be said about a podcast about cars or scuba diving from a Christian perspective. So for us, it's not that we think that those two have to go together, because obviously I don't, and my co-hosts don't think that they have to go together in any way. Rather, it's okay for Christians to be responsible gun owners, and I agree there has to be some responsibility there, and there should be no I guess mandate. It shouldn't be mandated that a Christian own guns or anything like that. But I mean, I think when you have a show like this one, Gun Guy Radio, or some of the other ones where they're not specifically oriented towards religion, it can kind of get infiltrate into the show sometimes, because our shows have believers hosting them. Some of them do. So it would be like any other thing. So where, if I'm not going to throw names out there, but if there were a person, who followed a certain lifestyle hosting another show that didn't have anything to do with that lifestyle, it would probably infiltrate their show a little bit. I mean, our shows are not about
like the Sheep Herder and Guns podcast.
Yeah.
Did I announce that one? Did I tell you that was coming in the network?
Oh, I want to host that one instead.
Or the Crochet and Guns podcast.
I don't want to host that one. That's all you, Jake. Good luck.
Yeah,
well,
sorry, go ahead, Nikki.
Do you mind if I interject a little?
Sure.
I can see the point there about it not being offensive, but maybe unnecessary. And I have a faith-based company, and I'm a believer, and I train across this nation with people from different socioeconomic levels, different ethnicities, different ages and backgrounds and experience levels, and just all, I mean, it's the spice of life. There's just so much variety of people, so many different types of people that I see, and I've noticed more and more that it really isn't so much about what they believe with regards to their faith or lack of faith or their political affiliations. You typically think of gun owners as, right-wing conservatives, but I've seen more and more that all of those polarized categories are really, the common denominator is, I want to learn about guns, I want to be educated about guns and how to use them just in case I ever need to, or just for fun. And I think more and more you see people coming together with that common denominator. And, though I can appreciate the opinions of people who may attend my classes that may not believe the same way that I do, I'm very respectful, but also it is a part of who I am. And, when people realize that a certain person has a certain personality, and as a believer, I feel that sometimes my beliefs and my faith are a part of me, so they do slip into the conversation, or they do come out as a natural part of who I am and how I treat people and how I communicate with people. So I think sometimes it's really more of a natural extension of whomever the interviewer is or the interviewee is with regards to a show like this. So I think we all have to be just considerate and tolerant of one another, because none of us are perfect and we don't all agree on exactly the same things. But I think if we're really focusing on the common denominator that show and that podcast is trying to project or trying to educate people about, I think if we stay focused on the bigger picture, I think we all can exercise a little common ground, a little consideration and tolerance for one another, and just stay focused on the goal. But I appreciate the honesty in his commentary.
Yeah, absolutely, Nikki. I think when you threw out the word tolerance, it's that kind of goes both ways. We would expect that someone would, listen to our show knowing that, part of listening to the show is getting to know who we are. Mm-hmm. And on the flip side of that, me, for example, I listen to other podcasts, and I have to accept that the ones that I listen to are going to involve the hosts cursing or maybe using some language that I wouldn't use and don't agree with. But if I'm listening to it for the content, and I'm making that choice to listen to them for free, then I will show some tolerance to that, obviously, and it's not my position to judge them in any way. So I can accept that, but I really appreciate your email, Eric, and thanks for taking the time to send that in. So hopefully we didn't offend you or anything. Just that's kind of how we feel.
Mike, I look forward to your new Peas and Carrots podcast. That's going to be very educational. And Mark,
peas in a pod, you mean?
No, he said peas and carrots. Mark writes in. Mark works at a gun range, gun store, I think, type setup. I know it's a range for sure. And he says he was looking at some of the current statistics that ran through their range, and he says he wanted to let us know that they're up by 22% increase in shooters from 2011 to 2012, and an 18% increase so far this year. And he's also seen carry classes increasing from 10 people to over 30 people, and they're doing more classes and for Florida, Utah, and all of them. So just thought that was interesting. That's kind of like a man on the street type of what he's seeing out there. And he says the good news is I picked up more 22 LR last week. He picked up 2,880 rounds.
From where?
He doesn't say. He's probably keeping that a secret.
He's not telling.
Well, you know what? I walked into our local Farm and Fleet today. It's like a farm store, and it was.
As you can tell from the name.
I took a step back and like, whoa, there's ammo here. They had like a full shelf of ammo. They had 223. They got 5 cases of 1,000 rounds of 223 or 5.56 in for I think it's $470 something per 1,000. Which
did they still have the box limit?
Well, yeah, but you could buy 4 boxes of 1,000.
True.
but they had 45, 40. They had 100-round boxes of 223, and then they had Zombie Max 223. Halloween's coming up. Need to stock up on Zombie Max. But yeah, I was kind of blown away. There was actually ammo in the store. So I think things might be turning around because Walmart has been having it more and more often as well. So if you guys are seeing ammo back on the shelves, you can write into jake@gunguyradio.com. All right, Jimmy writes in, he says, our laser bore sighter is good for a rough adjustment of a new scope. If so, what bore sighters do you recommend? Love the roundtable discussions. So, Nikki, have you played around with bore sighters at all?
I usually use laser components more for defensive guns, and we do some carbine and shotgun shooting, but I don't usually play around with laser bore sighters.
So Zach, he started Gun Guy Radio with me back when he used to live here in the same town I'm at. He had a couple rifles that's how he sighted them. And actually, I think if I remember right, he sighted one in our basement, in my basement with a bore sighter. He sighted the scope in and took it out to the range, and I believe it worked.
I'm just a fan of live fire confirmation.
Yeah, but I mean, this is something that you could do it theoretically at home or in your backyard. You know, if you have 30 yards, you could sight in, get it in at least. Hopefully, so you're hitting paper. But as far as which bore sighters I recommend, I don't know. I don't know that one's better than the other. They're pretty standard. They're basically a laser pointer that fits in your bore. So I'm not sure that one's way better than the other. Maybe listeners, viewers have an opinion on bore sighters. You can send an email to Jake at firearmsradio.tv or gunguyradio.com. Mike, you want to read Greg's email?
Sure. As an Illinois resident, can you please spend some time on the show talking about the requirements for Illinois concealed carry? There seems to be lots of unknowns as to what qualifies for the first 8 hours of the required 16 hours of training. At this point, no one knows what the second 8 hours will be, but many are talking about what qualifies for the first 8 hours of training. Some say that the Florida CCW training accounts for some part of the first 8 hours. What about Utah CCW training? Does the Utah training course account for anything? How about the NRA basic pistol course? Is this course good for the first 8 hours of Illinois CCW training? Has any of this been detailed? Or are we completely in the dark on the subject of Illinois CCW training? I would love to hear additional information on this subject.
Yes, we are completely in the dark. we seem to be in the dark. Florida and Utah permits don't account for squat. And the hunter safety course doesn't count. Last I heard, the only possible training that you could have before this goes live that would account for the first 8 hours is possibly the NRA basic pistol. But I also heard rumors that they may throw that out as well. The Illinois State Police have a frequently asked question column. This would be your most up-to-date information. So if you want to go to gunguyradio.com/088, I have a direct link to that right below your feedback.
Yeah, I'm looking at that right now, Jake. And this was actually updated September 30th of this year, so it's pretty current. But as far as acceptable credit that will go towards the training, Illinois Hunter Safety Course counts for 4 hours. Utah is 4. Florida is 4.
Oh, they changed it. Really?
Did they? Okay.
You said that this was updated just a few days ago?
September 30th is when it was updated. So Nevada is 4, Missouri is 4, Kentucky is 4, and Michigan is 4.
Well, that's good news.
And then it says Chicago Firearms Safety Course, 4 hours. NRA Basic Pistol counts for 8. NRA Personal Protection in the Home counts for 8. And outside the home counts for 8. I guess this is saying that that's not split up into first 8, second 8. You can basically, if you have 8 of these, that would count as, 16 hours of any of these, it would count as credit. So, if you have Florida and Utah, you'd already have 8, and if you've taken NRA Basic Pistol, you'd be good. So,
well, I mean, you can't add them up.
What do you mean?
You can't like have a NRA Basic Pistol, Florida and Utah, and be like, oh, I don't have to take any training.
I don't know. It says it is the responsibility of the instructor to verify successful completion of prior training and apply credit as listed. Once this credit is combined with additional training hours provided by the instructor, the approved ILCCF instructor will certify the 16 hours were met.
Well, I did hear it was greatly up to the instructors whether or not they would accept it.
I recommend you bake homemade cookies and take them to your instructor.
Good idea.
And stop by the feed store and pick up a case of 223 for them as well.
There you go.
Well, I'm actually that's going to be part of what I do on the blog on the Firearms Insider is I'm going to start to document my journey of getting an Illinois concealed carry permit. So I will start to document some of this now that this new info is out. But, still, for those of you that don't know, no one in Illinois will be able to get a permit before 2014. So it's you have a little bit of time.
Yeah. They're getting a lot of pressure for taking their sweet little time, though. They're getting a lot of pressure for that.
Yeah. Well, more on that later. That's kind of political for Gun Guy Radio. But
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, Bryce, thanks for, or not Bryce, Greg, thanks for writing in. We feel for you, being a fellow Illinois resident. And, yeah, you can find that frequently asked CCW FAQ at isp.state.illinois.us. Wow, they make that easy. So Bryce, he writes in. He says, longtime listener, fan of FRN. I just thought that I would make a suggestion for your show. I would like to see
for a show.
I would like to see an episode revolving around what a job in law enforcement looks like. All the shows seem to host a member of law enforcement at some point in its career, and I'm considering. And it is a career that I'm considering pursuing. I'm sure that there are others. Mike, stop typing.
I put the A in there.
Others that were wondering if the career in law enforcement is a path they should take, and if it would be interesting to see what your connections in the world would have to say about their day-to-day experiences in law enforcement, as well as what steps a person can take to become involved. Well, Bryce, you're in luck because Greg from the Tactical Paradise has actually produced such a show that you're speaking of. He had Greg Krasakis on from the California Highway Patrol, chips. And so I'll paste that in here. It's Tactical Paradise, episode 22. You can search for Tactical Paradise in iTunes, or I have a direct link for you right below your feedback in episode 88 of Gun Guy Radio. And that was a great episode. That was one of my favorite episodes of Tactical Paradise so far.
Yeah, that was a really good one. I guess I understood his email a little bit differently. You're probably right, though, Jake, that he was making a suggestion about having an episode on this. I thought he was talking more about a completely separate podcast.
Yeah, a show.
Geared towards...
yeah, but then after that he says, I would like to see an episode.
Okay. I got you.
Yeah, I would love to have a law enforcement show on the network. We'll put that out right now. If any law enforcement officers would like to share, their experience and their knowledge and do their own podcast show, a complete show for the Firearms Radio Network, email me at jake@firearmsradio.tv, and we'll see what we can do.
And Bryce, stay tuned for Firearms Insider, because on my list of folks for interviews, I have a couple of SWAT commanders and some officers that are involved in drug and gang task force, and some different areas of law enforcement, and people that are friends and just really, really cool individuals that I hope to have interviews with. So check back for Firearms Insider interviews with regards to this subject matter.
So what if we did like a, how we're doing Carol Gets a Gun? What if we did a completely separate
Barney
segment?
Gets a Badge?
where, Bryce gets a job or something, like.
Bryce gets a badge, not Bryce gets a job. That sounds like he's going to go work at a pizza parlor or something. Bryce, I'm on your team, buddy. I got your back. Bryce gets a job. Bryce goes to a garage sale. Bryce ties his shoes. What? Sorry, Bryce. I have
Jake,
no excuse for that.
Are you sure we want her?
No.
Bryce gets a dog. What? Bryce gets a balloon and an ice cream cone. Join us for that episode.
I'm so glad that.
Where's that ignore button you were looking at?
Oh, don't even pretend like you want to ignore me. You couldn't stand it for more than 5 seconds. We're going to get you that badge, Bryce. Don't worry.
Wouldn't that be cool, though? I mean, sorry, I cry when I laugh. Good
well, there's
tear.
worse things you could do. Well, Bryce, send us an email.
Are
Let
you
us know
guys
if you
ignoring me? Hello?
Can you hear us? Jake, one for yes, two for no. Can you hear us?
Yeah, Bryce. No, I think that'd be a great idea either way. But yeah, Nikki, I'm excited. I'm glad you're making us look good here. You already have content.
Hey, look,
lined up.
that's why you brought me in here.
That is, yeah.
I'm the anchor on this relay team right here, people.
Yes, yes, and I'm the anchor man, I guess.
Well, you do read everything that's on the teleprompter.
All right. Well, back to the Firearms Insider community. That will launch October 15th, so it's less than 2 weeks away. And we're looking to raise $1,000 in just less than 2 weeks here. We're over a quarter of the way there, and this is to prepay the hosting for this mammoth website and podcast and everything else. So if you'd like to contribute, and be part of the Firearms Insider from the beginning, you can go to firearmsradio.tv/donate. And big shout out to everyone who's contributed so far. Really appreciate it. Really helps get this website off the ground. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So Jake, how much is the Firearms Insider currently making right now?
It would be 100 times 6 times 0.
So yeah, we need your help. So, whatever
that would
you
be the
can...
same answer, pretty much the same answer for the Firearms Radio Network too. So.
Yeah, it's a pretty large network, and we have a very large listener base, and we rely on those kind of contributions to get this thing kicked off. So if you can give just a little bit, it's going to help us out. So we really appreciate all the ones who have contributed already, and a thank you ahead of time to those of you who will. Yeah.
We appreciate your support. And
I'm sorry I cut you off.
Oh, keep going.
I was just going to say...
Age before beauty, my friend.
Jake, go ahead. No, I was just going to say if you can't contribute financially, and this goes for those who can contribute financially, you can also support the website by actually going on and leaving a review once it launches. Do that. It doesn't have to be a written review. It doesn't have to be audio. It doesn't have to be video. It can be one or the other, or all three. Whatever you're most comfortable with, you can contribute in any way like that. So that's what's really good about how this is set up. It's very flexible, and however you can contribute in that way, it's really going to help build this thing and help it grow.
Yeah, I think building that momentum is really important. So for those of you who are committed listeners to the Gun Guy Radio, Gun Girl Radio, any one of the podcasts on Firearms Radio Network, then please share this new launch of this new podcast with your friends and family and followers on Facebook and Twitter. We're also going to be having some social media available for Firearms Insider. So watch for posts and follow it and share your thoughts with us. And if you have photographs or things that you want to contribute through social media, let us know, send them in, and we'll be doing some fun stuff with social media as well. So make sure that you search for Firearms Insider on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
Absolutely. So I'd like to thank Duluth Trading Company for sponsoring this episode of Gun Guy Radio. You can go to gunguyradio.com/Duluth. And also thank Ryan Cross, Hunter Design. If you see the artwork for the new competitive rifle podcast and the new precision rifle podcast, he did both of those. So great work. Thank you so much, Ryan. And if you need,
Ryan also did the new artwork for the God and Guns podcast.
That's right, which I have not got up yet. So,
oh, that's okay. But he does such amazing work. And one good thing about Ryan is you give him an idea, and he just runs with it, and he comes up with things that you totally didn't think of before, and they're excellent. And you're like, oh, I wish I would have thought of that.
Right. Yeah, for sure. So, and don't forget to shop Brownells by using our affiliate link, gunguyradio.com/satisfaction. And, that about wraps up the episode. So you can send your feedback to Jake at gunguyradio.com and record a voicemail message using the SpeakPipe plugin on the right-hand side of the website. And, don't forget to leave us an iTunes written review. You can use a podcast app on your iPhone or iPad, or iTunes on Windows or Mac. And, also, we're on Facebook, facebook.com/GunGuyRadio, GunGuyRadio.com/088 for the show notes. And remember, join the Second Amendment Foundation and the NRA. And thank you, Mike, and look forward to all you have in store for the Firearms Insider. And thank you, Nikki. Really excited about the new podcast. Can't wait to hear all those awesome interviews you have lined up.
Yeah, I'm super excited too.
It's going to be exciting.
And don't forget to check out all the other shows on the Firearms Radio Network. You can subscribe and listen for free at firearmsradio.tv/iTunes. And we'll see you next week.
This has been a production of the Firearms Radio Network. You can find more information at firearmsradio.tv.